All right, and welcome to the Pushing the Edge podcast. This is episode number 54, and this is a solo edition episode, and it's going to be quick and straight to the point. But I'm excited you're joining me here today on the podcast. And today I'm going to go over mindset, but more specifically with mindset, I'm going to go over how books have changed my life, and I'm also going to recommend four books that I have just finished recently. So these are actual books that I've finished recently in live time in the past, 30 days or so. And hopefully you can get value from that. But I want to go over how books have changed my life. But more importantly, let's start with why why new information and new data in books is a good idea. Why is it a good idea to explore the mental area of new information and new data? Well, I feel like in our lives, our minds direct our lives, right? I mean, so we're obviously oftentimes we're a product of our environment. And in our environment, there's information, there's data. We're seeing information, we're seeing data, we're seeing real life feedback in real life time. And this information that we receive, we create beliefs, we create responses, we create habits, we create patterns from this information feedback, and we develop our personality, and we go off and we start looking at the world through the lens of all the data that we collected in our immediate environment. This is normal for every single human being on the earth. And even as we grow, we go into high school, college, your first, few jobs in the marketplace, there's certain pieces of data that you pick up that you start looking at life through the lens of that data, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. But I think just that simple understanding of knowing that we look at life through the information that we've collected, and we create beliefs off of the feedback and the data that we collected in real life time. If we can take that simple principle and apply it on purpose, then we can basically come up with the formula of input equals output. So what I put into my mind, what I put into my brain is what is going to actually happen in my life. Now, this isn't necessarily just think it and it's going to happen. It's more of the information that I consistently collect, the information that I consistently put into my mind is going to generate similar types of thoughts. Those similar types of thoughts are going to generate similar types of desires and wants and beliefs. Those similar types of desires, wants, and beliefs are going to produce similar types of actions, efforts, and fruitfulness. Okay. Now, it's a simplistic way of looking at things, but it's not that complicated. So, if we can consistently control the narrative between our ears in our mind here, then we can start implementing and seeing a massive amounts of results in our real everyday life. And it is a process, guys. It's a process. It took me, I'm on that journey. I don't think the journey ever ends. But you're able to take the raw life that you've had with the raw data, the relationships, the environment that you grew up in, whether it's your family, college, hometown, doesn't matter. All that is fine. But if you want to excel in business, if you want to excel in finances, if you want to excel in your relationships, if you want to excel in your health and fitness, and you don't have that information and that type of data, then you have to go out, seek it, and purposely put it into your mind. Now, it doesn't mean you have to study with a highlighter every single night. It just means that if you just continually flood yourself with that type of information, and over consistently, you're consistently putting yourself in an environment that is giving you that feedback, that data, that information, whether it's audiobooks, whether it's hard books, hardcovers, whether it's courses, webinars, mentors, friends, relationships. All those are just data points of feedback that you can surround yourself with. It's going to help you produce results. Okay, so the formula is input equals output. So what I put into my mind is eventually going to happen in real life. What I'm thinking is eventually going to happen. What I'm thinking, I'm going to create desires from my thoughts, from my desires and my wants and my drive. I'm going to create an action And if I do that consistently and I have a pretty focused viewpoint on life that, where the information that I'm putting into my mind is consistent with my goals. So there's congruency, there's alignment. I'm going to start achieving those results. I'm going to naturally and effortlessly start making the correct actions to get me to where I want to go. So that's the basis of this podcast, is how books have changed my life. Input equals output. Now, it's not just books. There's mentors, there's people, there's relationships. Those are very important key data points because people have information, people have data, and they're able to exchange that information with you. So mentors and relationships are just as important as books and audiobooks and courses. It's just there's many different ways you can get this information. So it applies on all aspects of life. But let's focus on the information and content of books and audiobooks and things like that. Input equals output, guys. So if you can have that basic first principle, input equals output, you can take control of your future life, whether it's 6 months, a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. You can start controlling your own narrative in your own mind. Okay, by flooding yourself with the information and data that aligns with who you are. So it's not about changing who you are. It's not about manipulating who you are. It's not about making yourself somebody different. It's making yourself more of who you actually are. So this is all about alignment of who God made you to be, and then flooding yourself with information and data that aligns with that to help you actualize your potential and grow in your life. Okay, so input equals output. Books have changed my life. What are some best practices? What are some things that I do that have helped me in my path with books? Okay, number one, if I'm in the car, I'm listening to an audiobook. Okay, I know if you're a music lover, I get it. This is going to be a big change. It's going to be hard for you to do. I'm not saying you should not listen to music, but start making just little incremental shifts into, okay, if I listen to music all the time, maybe on my morning commute to work, I'm going to do an audiobook. That's how I started. I started off with, because I used to love listening to music in the car. That's fine. So what I did is I started off in the morning, I'm going to listen to audiobook. After that, hey, I can listen to music, I can listen to whatever, it doesn't matter, right? So you can start just simple. If you want to go all in, then make a rule. Every time I'm in my car, I listen to audiobooks only. You'd be surprised on how many audiobooks you can knock out just by driving around your daily commute. You'd be very, very surprised. We spend a lot of our time in the vehicle. So use that time wisely to get a massive education. It's a prime opportunity. So use car time for audiobooks. And guys, you don't have to sit there and listen to every little detail. Your subconscious mind is massively, massively powerful. So just flood yourself with the information. You're going to start picking it up and it's going to start resonating. Okay, so there's that. Another thing is hard copies. I believe that you should do audiobooks and a hard copy book at all times. I think it's good. I think reading provides another way of learning that audiobooks cannot, and it's good for focus and it's good for relaxation and peace and all these different things. Okay, so if you're doing audiobooks every day in your car, one thing that you could do is say, you know what, every day I'm going to read 5 pages. Every day I'm going to read 5 pages, just 5 pages. When I started off, I was just reading 5 pages, right? I mean, and to be honest with you, 5 pages every day was really difficult for me to consistently do. And it took time. It took me some time to get to the place where I actually enjoy reading. Now, I started off reading at a necessity because I needed better information. I needed better data. Okay. So I was motivated to seek better information, but the act of reading was still not super easy for me. So you can start with baby steps. Okay. 5 pages a day. If you can't do 5 pages every day, commit to 5 pages 3 or 4 days a week. Start there, guys. And then as you start doing that, it's going to morph and evolve into its own habit where you're going to literally want to be reading every day. Okay, so there's 2 things right there that you can do: is audiobooks in the car, hard copy book, 5 pages per day. Just those 2 habits, and if you stay consistent on just on those 2 habits, you're going to massively transform your life. Now, the third thing you can do is listen to podcasts that align with what you're doing. Okay, So there's podcasts for entertainment. There's nothing wrong with that. I listen to college football podcasts. I listen to sport podcasts. Those things have nothing to do with my goals. Okay. There's sometimes I listen to podcasts, MMA fighting, boxing. I listen to stuff that has nothing to do with my goals. Everybody does. That's not what I'm speaking on. That's fun. It's entertainment. You got to have those moments. But I also listen to podcasts with intentionality. I want to listen to podcasts that align with my goals and that align with my personal and professional development. So, guys, the third thing you could do is find podcasts that are in congruence with what you are trying to achieve and what you are achieving. Okay, so if you're in the health and fitness, find podcasts that are going to be centralized on health and fitness. If you're in the high performance and peak performance and productivity, find podcasts that are going to help you with that. If you're in the business, finance, etc., find podcasts for that. Relationships, marriage, friendships, all kind of things, right? Psychology, doesn't matter what it is. There's so many great podcasts, and vet out the podcast. Make sure it resonates with you, that you're in alignment. It's not just some junky podcast. I have found really, really good podcasts that only have, 100 people that listen. And I've found podcasts with 4 million people that listen that wasn't very good. So just vet out the podcast, but find the ones that resonate with you, that are in alignment with your goals. So there's 3 ways you can do it. Number 1, use your car time for audiobooks. Number 2, read 5 pages a day. Number 3, listen to podcasts that are in alignment with your goals and the things that you are achieving. Okay, those are 3 things. Now, let's get into the last 4 types of books, 4 books, okay, and some of them are collection that I've read recently that I want to share with you, and hopefully you can find value. And if it aligns with what you're trying to do, hey, go check it out. I love new books. I love new audiobooks. I love information. I love learning. It's exciting to learn. It's exciting. It makes life fulfilling. Okay. First book. These are all 4 books that I've read the last 30 days. Dr. David Hawkins. Dr. David Hawkins. If you're familiar with Dr. David Hawkins, you're most likely going to think of his book, Power versus Force. And that is a phenomenal book. Power versus Force is phenomenal. Great book. If you're not familiar with Dr. David Hawkins, Google Dr. David Hawkins, Power versus Force. The book is phenomenal. It is next level. Okay. So you got to be ready for that book. It is high level, you know, it's high level. So you got to be ready for it. But if you're interested in it, it's a phenomenal book to read. Now, the book that I've just read recently from Dr. David Hawkins was actually a book called The Map of Consciousness Explained. The Map of Consciousness Explained. Now, it's an audiobook form. You can find it on Audible, and it's actually set up as a classroom setting where it is his actual lectures. So it's really, really cool because these are actual lectures in his courses, in his education. This is a PhD, MD. This guy is super, super smart, and it's his actual lectures going over the map of consciousness and different aspects of it. I believe it's 10 to 12 hours long, but I'll promise you it is very, very interesting. So Map of Consciousness Explained by Dr. David Hawkins. The next one is The Power of One More by Ed Mylett. The Power of One More by Ed Mylett. This book was phenomenal. Absolutely motivational. If you need a fire lit under your ass, go get The Power of One More by Ed Mylett. I love Ed Mylett. He's passionate. He's great at business. He's a great salesperson. He's great on, productivity, peak performance, all those type of things. But this book is really, really phenomenal. If you're on a path to building a career, a business, finances, if you're doing something new in your life, you got to listen to The Power of One More. It's really a massively strong philosophy, because really The Power of One More is built on his own personal philosophy of life and business. And there's a lot of golden nuggets there. So The Power of One More by Ed Mylett. The third one is The 10X Mentor by Grant Cardone. The 10X Mentor by Grant Cardone. Now, there's the 10X book, the 10X Rule, which he came out with years and years ago, which is a phenomenal book. But this is actually a new one called the 10X Mentor. It's all new data, all new information, still based off of his philosophy and his principles of 10Xing your life, but it's all relevant to live time today, 2022. So you need to check out the 10X Mentor by Grant Cardone. Once again, it's going to fire you up. It's going to motivate you. It's going to challenge you. It's going to light a fire in your ass. It's going to get you moving. So that's a really, really good book for drive, motivation, inspiration, and taking action. Love that book for that. Now we're going from action to mindset and spirituality, right? So I love reading spiritual books and business and finance books. I just think they're one and the same. And a lot of people look at them as two different worlds. To me, man, it's the same thing. If I can get my spiritual right, my spiritual life right, my relationship with God right, my mindset right, I know that my business and my finances are going to be right. So I like to combine both. My two favorite things are business and finance books and spiritual books. And a lot of people look at them as separate. To me, man, they're the same thing. So the fourth book is Neville Goddard. Okay, if you're not familiar with Neville Goddard, he's an old school dude, super old school. And guys, this is very intuitive type of information that it's not going to be super, super easy just to rationalize and understand. But for me, I had to kind of sit, really, really listen to it. But a lot of good stuff. This is the Neville Goddard collection. It's actually 10 books compiled into one audiobook. So if you go to Audible, look up the Neville Goddard collection. There's 10 of his books all into one. It's like 18 hours of content because all of his books are really, really short. They're all like an hour and a half, 2 hours, something like that, right? So go check out Neville Goddard Collection. His last name is Goddard Collection. It is all spirituality and mindset. And I'm telling you, it's really, really, really good stuff. It's a lot of it's philosophy, right? It's gonna make you think different. It's gonna make you question your own thought patterns and how you think. And that's why I love books like this, because sometimes I listen to something, I may not literally take what the person says as literal, but it spawns me to self-reflect and think of a new way on how I look at my life. And hey, that's where the magic happens. So it's not always about the data per se literal, but sometimes just one piece of data can spawn a new thought that help you create a new awareness in your own life. All right, guys, this was Pushing the Edge podcast, episode number 54, How Books Have Changed My Life. Go out and check out these 4 books and implement the things that I mentioned earlier in the podcast with how you can increase your mindset and surround yourself with data and information and people that align with your goals and where you're going in life. Until next time, guys, go out there, be great, and let's get it.